Hey, what's up guys, this is Liam, or we got on your Overwatch back with a new video today, the most requested guide by you guys, Tracer. We're going to go through all of her timings and how to get the most out of her at as many levels as players I can describe. She can be so simple on the face of things, but really, there's a lot to her, and the more ranks you grind through, the harder it does get to utilize. So we're going to go through all of that, but if you have any other suggestions, and not necessarily just guides, let us know in the comment section, and we will add them to the list. So, Tracer is one of the best 1v1 heroes in the game. Assuming you know how to use her, she can kill just about anything in a 1v1 situation. You can take on even a tank, you could take on a Reinhardt. She's of course very good also at killing the squishies, the DPS. You need to be careful of Roadhog of course, and Reaper because it does so much damage, but generally if you're playing well, she can be a nuisance to just about anything. And the reason for this is that she just has such big DPS potential at close range. She can do some of the most burst damage in the entire game if you can hit all of her shots in the head, but the flip side to this is that because she's so squishy, if your timings are off, you're not going to get any value because she's just going to die instantly, and that in short is the problem with Tracer. Now, one thing that's great about her at the minute is that she can 1v1 Mei, because Mei keeps getting picked in like every game. She got a buff, people are starting to love her more and more, and Tracer's good against Mei, and a misconception is that she isn't. Now, people say that Mei counters Genji and Tracer because they're so fast and she slows them down. If you're playing a bad Tracer or Genji, then I understand, and it's definitely more of a counter to Genji, but with Tracer it's all about timings, which I'll go through in a minute. But if you can get in, do some damage to Mei and force her into her bubble with some of your utility left to still move around, she's a very, very good counter to Mei. Before I move on though, the last thing I'll say about these 1v1s is just try not to bait too much. And this is something that you guys keep asking us. What does baiting mean? Well, don't go off into 1v1 situations that don't matter. Of course, if there's a healer on their own for some reason, as Tracer, it's your job. Go and kill that healer. But if there's just a Reaper somewhere off on his own, you don't need to be in that fight. Baiting your team is leaving them and not helping them when they may be in a dire situation that you could be helping. So it's all about timings, guys, and this is the main thing. You always need to make sure as Tracer that you can have your abilities to stay alive. Do not use all of your abilities. One of the biggest mistakes I see made, and I do it myself sometimes too, is using all of your blinks to get into a situation and then only having your rewind to get out. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, that's the whole point, isn't it? Well, think about it this way. If you use all 3 blinks to get into a fight and do some damage, but then you need to get out of there, so you rewind back, you don't actually go far enough to get away from the enemy team. Sometimes you need an extra blink. So what I recommend is that before you engage into a fight is that you have got all of your blinks. This way you can zip in, try and get as close to them as you can so that you can zip in just with 1 blink, because it's going to regain in the next couple of seconds and you'll already have it again by the time you've just sprayed 1 lot of your bullets. Once you reload, you can blink back out of there and you've still got the rewind to work with if you then start taking damage. The rewind is a last resort. You need to try and manage your blinks as efficiently as possible. 1 blink to get in, 1 or 2 to get out. You've then still got your rewind if you need to use it. The rewind should only ever be used as a last resort, or if your HP of course is being depleted. And what's good about this ability as well is that it effectively gives her 300 HP as long as you don't die. So all of a sudden, if you're using it properly, you've got 300 HP on a hero that can move really fast and does some of the most damage in the game. It's all about timings. Keep your blinks handy. They're not just for getting in, they're also for getting out. You also want to keep in mind where health packs are, so make sure you've got enough blinks to get to a health pack if your rewind is out. It is a last resort. Once you've got timings down, when to get in, when to get out, when to use your blinks or not, we need to talk about focus fire. Who should you actually be killing as Tracer? Sometimes it can be very frustrating trying to kill a Lucio because he moves around so much, but he should be your primary target amongst Zenyatta and other healers. Now, there's something that happens a lot in King of the Hill, and this isn't just for Tracer, this is an all-around tip. If the enemy team don't have a Mercy, sometimes it doesn't matter who you focus fire because they can't all be resurrected. If it's a Mercy, she's got to go. She is your primary target as Tracer. Mercy needs to go as soon as possible. However, If the enemy team's a little bit split up, like it can happen on King of the Hill, with fights kind of going on everywhere, and then we're all trying to take the point, and then everyone splits up again because people start getting injured, any kill is a good kill with Tracer. Just as I mentioned earlier, you need to make sure you don't go off into a 1v1 somewhere that is irrelevant. You need to still try and stay with your team as much as possible and flank the healers where necessary. Now, you can melt through a Lucio very, very quickly, and this section just comes down to really mastering your aim. You need to find that perfect point between a low and a high sensitivity where you can still spin around everywhere as Tracer, because you need to be able to because of her blink and everything, but also you've got to be able to control it for harder to hit targets such as Lucio. Now, Zenyatta is another high priority target for Tracer to kill as well, because that way it will either force out his Transcendence or he won't be able to use his Transcendence because he's dead. This also gives your team a massive advantage, but if Zenyatta discorbs you, all he's got to do is hit you in the head once and then maybe give you a kick in the face and you're going to die. But because I gave you the tip earlier, you know that you've got your rewind on handy because you haven't wasted it, and that is the most important thing. I've said it already, I know, maybe a couple of times, but it's the most important thing to remember, is you need to always have her utility to get the hell out of there. The last thing I want to mention about her actual utility is her pulse bomb or her ultimate. Now, who do you target with this? And it's actually a very, very similar rule. Now, it is good to try and get it on a Lucio because he dies instantly, and if an enemy team is transcending and they're all in that big ball, you can put your pulse bomb on there, and because it is burst damage, it will kill all of the squishies on there. The Transcendence doesn't stop it, which is, again, very, very good, especially if you couple it with a Zarya, or if a Zarya ult drags them all in, you zip in as Tracer, but you've still got your blinks to get out, remember that. Put on the bomb, zip out of there, it will kill all of them that haven't got more than like 200 HP. So all the squishies in there will die apart from Zen, and then they'll have no way to heal after that, because Zen really isn't a great solo healer and he's very, very easy to focus. But if they don't have a Zenyatta or you don't have anything to couple it with, any target's a good target. Sometimes if the Ryan's causing you a lot of trouble because they're death balling behind it, you can actually zip him behind his shield, shoot him a bit, drop the bomb, get out of there, and he will die very, very quickly. Once the Ryan is down, then you could just focus the rest of the team. So that's the beauty of Tracer. It's all about knowing who to target. There is no pure answer on who you should be going for, because it is very dependent on the individual game. There's so many different situations you would have seen in this gameplay on screen where I would have been putting bombs on like McCree or something because maybe the McCree's causing us hassle, or I just know that that less DPS on their team will mean that their healers are more vulnerable because they can't be defended. And that's the whole thing with her. Is yes, there is some mechanical skill, but mainly it comes down to all these timings on when you should be zipping in, zipping out, rewinding, or dropping your pulse bomb. Now, one thing I will mention is the pulse bomb does charge very, very quickly, so you do want to use it kind of as soon as possible. Now, the main trap I would say not to fall in as Tracer is not only baiting, which I've talked about a lot already, is actually to not go in on your own too much, especially on attack. Say you're just all going for the objective, you're playing some kind of capture point and your team are ready to push with your Reinhardt. Don't go in too fast too quickly, because that can easily lead to you dying and then your team have to wait for you again. I do that, and it's my biggest flaw as a Tracer player. I do try to stop doing it, and I'm getting better, and it does take a lot of practice, same as all of these other things. You just need to know when your team's pushing, and it has to be communicated. She isn't a character that you can always just play solo. Sometimes, yeah, you can go and carry with her, but in a tough game, in a tough situation, you need to have the ability to know when to go in with your team, and again, when to drop out and not bait too much. The last thing I'll mention about Tracer, and I'll put an example on screen, is that sometimes, say you're just playing a game and you've nearly won, and the objective, you've got 2/3 of your objective and you've gone in and you've died, but most of your team's still up in the fight and you've been playing as another DPS this whole time, or maybe even you're a healer and the clock's ticking and you know you need to get in. Tracer can just be a very, very good last minute pick to get the hell back in there into the fight as soon as possible. Now, this does go against the philosophy I said before, but you do have to deal with it. It's the end of the game. You've got nothing to lose. You use all of your blinks to get in there. You still have your rewind handy if you need it. hopefully you can stay alive long enough to get more blinks back. You can get straight back in the action and help your team and hopefully win. Now this is a very niche example, right? This is very rare, but it is one tip and it just summarizes why Tracer's so versatile. There's no pure rules with her. There's nothing you have to do with her. Yes, if they've got a mercy, she's got to go, but apart from that, any target generally is a good target. Don't bait your team. Make sure you've got the ability to get in and out as much as possible. Don't use all of your blinks to get to the objective. You need to make sure you've got some, get as close as possible. And one thing to mention is if you do just blink in, they still hear and see you. You're not being stealthy. That's one thing that she isn't. She is a flanker, but she isn't stealthy. So definitely be careful of that, because people have said to me before, Weagle, how can people know where I am as Tracer? It's like, because they can hear you. They can hear you going whoopee or whatever she says, you know? So that's one thing to watch out for. So guys, I hope this wasn't too much information, but it's all about sustainability, staying alive, getting to health packs and using the rewind as an absolute last resort. Prioritizing anyone, just that focus damage is great, and pulse bombing the right targets. I think Reinhardt's a very good target to get rid of because it opens everything up. So guys, if I missed anything about these timings, let me know. If there's anything else you want me to cover on Tracer or other heroes, the comment section is the place to go. Do not forget to follow our Twitter and our live stream where we stream nearly every single day. We also tweet out our videos, our live streams and other funny stuff as well that happens to us in game. Sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed, and have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.